Okay, this is a recording of my working out the study guide in preparation for our test on Monday. There will be a hard copy available, so all this will be printed out for you. But in case you don't understand a particular problem, you can fast forward to the one that you don't know how to do. I will quickly go over those that are definition type answers. You just needed to look in your notes if you didn't. But the most important thing that you need to remember is that your test on Monday will be 20 questions that come from this study guide. So the study guide has 27 questions, so 7 of them will be omitted. You will only have 20 on the test. So just keep that in mind as we're going through. So this first one, name the vertex of the angle. The vertex is the point they have in common. We name a point with a capital letter, so it's A. Name the sides of the angle. The sides are the two rays, and you name a ray beginning with the endpoint. So we will have ray AB. You got to put that symbol on top, and then ray AC. Those are the sides. And name the angle in 3 different ways, and we talked about this when we first discussed angles. You can name it with just the vertex sometimes, or you can choose all 3 letters, but the vertex has to be in the middle. So I would have angle BAC, and I would have angle CAB. So those are the 3 ways to name that angle. Next, we're classifying angles as acute, right, straight, or obtuse. I think everybody knows this is a right angle. This is your acute angle because it's less than 90 degrees. This is your obtuse angle, and this is your straight angle. Straight angle forms a line. All right, next we have find the measure of the complement, find the measure of the supplement. Okay, complement, we talked about C comes before S in the alphabet, and 90 comes before 180 in the alphabet. So I'm going to say 90 minus 39.6, and I'm going to say also, well, what's 90 minus 186? That, of course, is 50.4. And over here we have 180 minus 149 and a third. So make sure you know how to do your calculator. 180 minus 149 and a third is 30 and 2/3. If you need help with your calculator, you need to come see me after class or ask me during our classwork sessions. Okay? Next, find the measures of angles 1, 2, and 3. I find it easiest to do it right here on the diagram, and then we'll transfer our answers. This angle, I think everybody knows, is 90. This is 51. That means this whole thing is 90. So I'm going to have 90 minus 51, and 90 minus 51 is going to be 39. 2 is the same thing as 90, and 1 is a vertical angle with 3. So I'm going to have 1 is 39 degrees, 2 is 90 degrees, and 3 is 39 degrees. All right. Use an algebraic equation to find the measures of the two angles described. Begin by letting x represent the degree measure of the angle's complement or its supplement, depending on the equation. Now, we did 2 examples like this in homework, so hopefully you were able to look back at your homework and know how to do this. The measure of an angle, we talked about that as x, is 48 more than twice its supplement, and its supplement is 180 minus x. So we have to distribute. X equals 48 plus 360. Remember, that's 2 times 180, and we have to do 2 times x, so it would be minus 2x. So bring my 2x to the other side is going to give me 3x. 48 plus 360 is 408. divide both sides by 3, and you will find that x equals 136. So that makes one angle 136, and then I take that back up here, and then I'm going to say 180 minus 136 to get the supplement, which is 43. So my angle will be 136 and 43. Okay, moving along to the next page. The figure shows two parallel lines intersected by a transversal. One of the angle measures is given. Find the measure of the indicated angle. So they asked us to find measure of angle 3. So I'm given 17. We've talked about this before. So all those that make a kind of like a Z diagonal are going to be 17. So that's 17, 17, and 17. But according to this, I need angle 3. So hopefully you can see that these two together form a linear pair. So I'm going to subtract 180 and 17 and get an answer of 163. So that's the measure of angle 3. Okay? In a similar fashion, okay, we have an isosceles triangle. We've seen that isosceles triangle have two sides of equal length, so they're marked for you in the figure. The angles opposite these sides have the same measure. Use this information to find the measure of the requested angle. Again, the measure of angle 3. So if this is 118, we're going to find angle 1 by taking 180 minus 118. And when you do that, you're going to get 62. So that makes this angle 62 and this angle 62 because they told us these two sides were equal, so the angles opposite the sides are equal. Then I have a triangle. So I know that 62 plus 62 is 124. So 124 plus the measure of angle 3 has to equal 180. So the measure of angle 3 is going to be 180 minus 124. And when I subtract those, I'm going to get 56 degrees. So that's the answer. Next, we have the picture shows a bicycle wheel in which all angles formed by the spoke have the same measure. Find the measure of each angle. So hopefully you remember that all of them add up to a complete rotation, which is 360 degrees. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 angles. So 360 divided by 9 gives me each one measuring 40 degrees. Find the measure of angle 3. So again, we've got our triangles adding up to 180. So if I have 90 and 30, then I'm going to have 180 minus 120, which is 60. So this one is going to be 60. And they're asking me for the measure of angle 3, and that's a vertical angle. So that means my answer will be 60 degrees. Again, I got that 90 plus 30 is how I got 120, and then I subtracted. Okay, number 14, a surveyor measured a triangular plot of ground measuring three angles at 37.8 degrees, 64.7 degrees, and 75.8 degrees. Are these measurements correct? If not, how much of an error is there? Okay, well, this problem says it's a triangular plot, and we know that all the angles of a triangle have to add up to 180. So I'm going to do 37.8 plus 64.7 plus 75.8. And if I add all of those up, I'm going to get 178.3. So that means, can those measurements be correct? No, they cannot. And how much of an error is that? I'm going to take 180 and I'm going to subtract 178.3, And I'm going to get an answer of, well, I'll go ahead and put it here, 1.7. So this is 1.7 degree short, is how you say. Okay, moving along. Use similar triangles. So we got similar triangles. We're going to be using a ratio, most likely. And the fact that corresponding sides are proportional, that's an equality of two ratios, to find the length of the side marked with an X. So I have my two similar triangles. Remember we talked about this is our big to small, and we write that so that we keep the same thing on the top and the bottom. So in my big triangle, I have an X, and I have, it doesn't matter which one we want to use. We'll use X and we'll use 8. But the big triangle goes on top. And go over to my small triangle. What corresponds to X is 3, and what corresponds to 8 is 4. So we cross multiply, and that gives me 4x equals 24. So x equals 6. So my answer is going to be 6 meters. All right, and my next one, this one's a little more challenging because you still got a big and a small. Okay, so I'm going to write big over small. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to tell which side goes where. In my big triangle, I have a side that's 7 inches. Okay, this is my big, and then I have this is the other big side. So that is x plus 7 because I'm keeping the big on top. And then what corresponds to 7 is 5. And what corresponds to this whole side is just going to be 7. So I'm going to cross multiply and get 49 equals 5x plus 35, because I did 5 times x to get 5x and 5 times 7 to get 35. Then I take the 35 over and I'm going to get 5x equals 14 and divide both sides by 5. You get x equals 14 over 5. And when you put that in your calculator, you actually come out with a decimal that terminates. So you can give me an answer of 2.8 inches. Or you could say 14/5 inches. I'll take either one. Okay. Use similar triangles again to solve the problem. We have a flagpole that casts a shadow of 37 feet. So I have, I'm not an artist, so let's do that's my flag, something like that. Okay, and my flag is 37 feet high. And it casts a shadow. Do we know how tall the shadow is? Uh, I'm sorry, the flagpole cast a shadow of 37 feet. So this is not 37 feet. The shadow is 37 feet. Okay, then we have a 10-foot tree. There's my tree. This is what is 10 feet. And it casts a shadow, but this shadow is only 2 feet. Okay, and hopefully you can see from my really bad pictures that these are your right angles right here because the trees go straight up and down when they grow. So we have 10 and 2, and they're asking me for the height of my flagpole. So we're still doing the same thing, big to small, or if it helps you this time, you can say flag to tree. Okay, so big, part of my big is x and 37, and the height of the flagpole goes with the height of the tree. The shadow of 37 goes with the shadow of 2. So 2x equals 370. We cross multiply, and x equals 185 feet. So we put in my answer blank. 185 feet. All right, we're almost done. Hang in there. Use the Pythagorean Theorem to find the missing length in the right triangle. So Hopefully you all remember your Pythagorean theorem says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The most important thing to remember is c is always the longest side, the one that is opposite the right angle. So in this particular triangle, you should have 9 squared plus b squared equals 15 squared. 9 squared is 81 plus b squared equals 15 squared is 225. So b squared equals 225 minus 81, which is 144. And when you take the square root of both sides, you get that b equals plus or minus 12, but we only want the positive because we're talking about the side of a triangle. So 12 feet is going to be your answer. Okay, so on this one, the difference is what we're looking for is the unknown, and that is our hypotenuse in this case. So we're going to have 10 squared plus 3 squared equals c squared. So we have 100 plus 9 is 109. So c equals plus or minus the square root of 109, which is, as a decimal, 10.44. And hopefully you read your directions. It said round to the nearest tenth. So if I round this to the nearest tenth, it will be 10.4 meters. Okay, another Pythagorean theorem. Okay, you have a sheet of paper that measures 49, a square sheet of paper that measures 49 centimeters on each side. So 49 and 49. That doesn't say 49. Oops. 49, 49, 49. What is the length of the diagonal? So I'm looking for this right here. Excuse me. So again, it's a square. All the sides have right angles, or all angles are right angles. So we can use our Pythagorean theorem and say 49 squared plus 49 squared equals x squared. And when you pull out your calculator and put that in, you're going to find out that x squared equals 2401. Actually, that's one of them. So we have 2401 plus 2401. So when you add those together, x squared equals 4802. And you take the square root of that, and your calculator is going to tell you that that means x is approximately, actually some calculators, let me do this, because some calculators give it to you like this, and I think I talked about this in our notes. 49 square roots of 2. So figure out that button that will give you the decimal, because you're supposed to round to the nearest tenth, and the decimal is going to be 69.296. So to round that to the nearest tenth is going to be 69.3 centimeters. Word problem, got to have that label. Okay? Now, if you remember from geometry, when you took your class last year, when these two numbers are the same, this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. This is always the side times the square root of 2, which is what we got, or sometimes your calculator will spit out for you. That's what this is. But you can't leave it like that, so you'd put it in. If you can remember that, I have no problem with it, and then you have to put it as a decimal to answer the question. Okay? If you drive 8 miles south, so I'm going to start right here, and drive 8 miles south, excuse me, and then 6 miles east, how far are you in a straight line from your home? So they're asking me for that, this length right here. So south is down, east is to the right, north is up, and west is to the left. Think about your compass rose. So my problem is going to be 6 squared plus 8 squared equals x squared. That is 100 equals x squared. Take the square root of that. X equals plus or minus 10. So in my answer blank, I'm going to put 10 miles. Word problem. Got to have that label. Okay? And we're getting close. Which of these quadrilaterals have sides of equal length? Name these quadrilaterals. Does this have all equal lengths? Yes. Does this one? No. No. Yes. And no. How do I know it? Because they put tick marks on all of the sides of the same number of tick marks. Now I have to name these. Hopefully you remember that the name of the A is a rhombus and the name of D is a square. So that's how you answer that question. 23. Find the perimeter of the figure. Express the perimeter in the same unit measure that appears on the given side or sides. So if mine's in centimeters, then my answer needs to be in centimeters. And you know, a rectangle, excuse me, has opposite sides that are the same length. So, excuse me, when I add those up, I'm going to have, however you want, the other way, a couple of ways. You can do 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2, or you can remember that it's 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Both of these will give you the same answer of 10. Okay? Find the perimeter of the figure shown. Express the perimeter in the same unit measure that appears on the given sides. So again, we are just adding all of these sides up. And wherever you start doesn't matter. You want to write it down so I know if you made a mistake, I know what you're doing. 18 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 15 plus 6. Excuse me. So you add all those up and you get 48. Our units are yards. 3 more. A garden is the shape of a rectangle. Okay? Draw your rectangle if you need it. That is 35 feet long and 29 feet wide. The fencing costs $7 a foot. What will it cost to place fencing around the garden? So hopefully you know if we're going around the garden, that's our perimeter. So the perimeter equals 2 times 35 plus 2 times 29. That gives me a perimeter of 128 feet. And we know that the fencing costs $7 a foot. So we did 128 feet over 1 times, I need my feet on the bottom, dollars on top, $7 for every foot. My feet cancel. I have 128 times 7, which is a total of $896. Okay, last two problems. The figure shows a regular polygon. Find the measure of angle 1, which is one of the angles of the polygon. So remember that all of them add up to a number that we can get by this formula. N minus 2 times 180, where N is the number of sides. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sides. So it's going to be 8 minus 2 times 180, which is 6 times 180, or 1080. It's a regular polygon, which so we know that all the sides are equal and all the angles are equal. So we're going to take 1080 and divide it by 8 equal angles. And that gives each one a measure of 135 degrees. Okay, last problem. Find the sum of the measures of the angles for the figure shown, and then find the measure of angle 1. Okay? In a similar thing we just did, we have one, two, three, four, 5 sides. So that means, using our formula up there, that we're going to be 5 minus 2 times 180, or 3 times 180. So the total measure is 540 degrees. Find the measure of angle 1. Okay, remember this one's 90 and this one's 90. And we know that's 130 and that's 160. So we've got to add up 90, 90, 130, and 60. And that gives us 370. So so if I know that these four add up to 370 and the total is 540, then I'm going to take 540 minus 370, and I'm going to get my answer, which is going to be 170. So it's 170 degrees. Okay, now I have a hard copy. It will be on the website. If you have any questions, please write them down. Come see me during AO on Monday, because you can leave AO if you have your QR code. Hope y'all have a great weekend, and I will see you soon.